This is Grow by Design. Are you a business owner struggling with the direction of your company? Do you hesitate, wanting things to be perfect before you take action? Do you question your strength as a leader? If you answer yes to any of these questions, this is the show for you.
Hey everybody, we are back again, and today we are having a great conversation about dealing with hard clients. I don't care what business you're in. Okay, if you're in the service industry, you have a grocery store, you have a restaurant, it's irrelevant. You're going to deal with an amount of people that no matter what, you can't keep them happy. And it's really just a fact of the matter. And we all hate it because if you are personally invested in your business, you care so deeply about satisfying every single person that you end up meeting, that you work with, that comes in your door, because you feel very, very blessed every time there's another job, there's another person, because it's this thing that you've created from nothing that has become something. And you get into the habit, and I know I'm extremely guilty of it, of just wanting to keep anyone and everyone happy. And it's not always what you should be doing, or it's not really that you shouldn't always be doing it. It's that sometimes that's just not possible. And it's not something that you're going to be able to achieve. And it'll end up leaving you just really feeling down on yourself, because trying to satisfy someone where you can't meet the expectation because the expectation's unrealistic, it can be just very demoralizing as a business owner, as an employee in a business. Like, for any part of it, it can be demoralizing. Like, if you can't keep your boss happy, you can't keep your clients happy, you can't keep your teammates happy, and it just keeps beating you down, and it just grinds you down. So let's get into this conversation though, because I know so many people are dealing with this, and sometimes it feels like no one else is having this exact same problem to this exact same level. And I want to, one, kind of go over what I think that we should be putting up front and making most important. Secondly, how to kind of like evaluate and figure this situation out. And finally, how to deal with it, right? On the probably separation end of this conversation. So first and foremost, the most important thing for every company is customer satisfaction. You know, there's that old saying of the customer's always right. Unfortunately, that's not exactly true. The customer is not always right. But it's because of that saying that makes us just blindly follow that at times and really go towards oblivion of a relationship with a customer, with a client, so on and so forth. But so making sure that customer satisfaction is up on the top pedestal in your company, that's really starting off on a good foot. And that means, one, your communication's got to be right. Two, you are morally acting in the right way, and you're not just making decisions. I see so many businesses, one, maybe price stuff wrong or get in a hurry and then make decisions out of haste, where they stop making decisions for the clients they work with, and all of a sudden they're making decisions for the business because it's financially, or whatever the case may be, best for this situation. And so if we're keeping people happy at the top of importance, we have to put people first. We have to make sure we do the things that satisfy our clients. We have to make sure we have satisfaction guarantees in place. We have to stand behind our word. We have to do what we say, right? And you need to be able to act in all decisions that way. You know, I just cannot preface enough. You get in a hurry, you get frustrated, you get jaded over some other situation. You lose connection in your mind with, is this person just having a really bad day? Or is this a habitual problem for this person of acting out this way, treating the people they work with this way? Because something that happened a long time ago, we've been in business long enough now to see a lot of clients we've worked with have spouses pass, different people in their family pass, or the clients themselves pass. And you don't know who maybe just had their husband die, who just had their wife die, who just had their kid die, who had some horrible thing happen to them. And that's one hard thing, is we just approach life like everything is hunky-dory a lot of times. And so in this conversation of maybe getting frustrated with a client, you really, really have to grade and judge yourself when you're putting client satisfaction, client's happiness first in the list of important things. Like, Is it possible that they just had something life-changing happen to them today? Because you don't know what anyone else's day is like. You don't know what anyone else is going through. And you can take a person that is extremely awesome at all times, right? And then put them and back them into a corner of despair and pain and frustration. And all of a sudden, they might not act quite the same way. And so there has to be a little grace. If you're going to put clients first, there also has to be a little grace put into this to really allow you to get the best outcome. So that's the first piece. Everything in your business, clients first, the guarantees, the standing behind your work, the way you communicate. Don't be ever acting out of like at best or at the least furthest away, you act as like it's a win-win equal to both. You're not doing stuff morally that's just, oh, this is all good for us, and it doesn't matter about the client, because that's not putting a client first. All right, so you got that out of the way. That's first and foremost when it comes to this dealing with hard clients, hard customers conversation. Secondly is evaluating whatever this issue is that has happened. We've already mentioned, is this a habitual thing? Is this something that this person does over and over and over? Or is this something that this is a one-off? This is a person having a really bad day. This is a person going through maybe something life-altering, right? So first, we judge the reaction to whatever the situation is. Because just like anything, if I want something from you, you want something from me, you're going to get a lot more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. Meaning if I come at you mad already, how am I going to persuade a good outcome here? And it's very frustrating when clients or anyone just comes in just fuming, because it's not how you get to the means of the end of anything. And rightfully so. There are things that happen, though, that really, really piss people off. It's like, don't do this one thing, no matter what. Don't break this one thing. Don't have this one problem, and then it happens, and the person, you've been warned, the person's furious, and that's the type of thing that happens in work, right? Like, don't get stuff in the pool. Don't mow that part of the lawn. Don't serve the food that way. And you tweak that one little thing, and all of a sudden someone's furious, and they can act here again kind of completely out of context or out of line, just because that's their one big trigger. We all have those biggest things that trigger us. We all have those things that are just, for us, that's the most frustrating thing in the world. Like for me, one of my biggest pet peeves is toilets that don't flush right? Like, so you press the button and you have to hold the thing down instead of just press it and it flushes. That is just mind-numbing to me. And everybody's got those little things. That sounds ridiculous that I say that, but everybody else has got their own piece, right? So first, evaluating the situation of how they're reacting with whatever this problem is. And the situation can be very wide, right? This can be some little problem, or this can be some ongoing thing, whatever the case may be. And now second, it is to evaluate the actual problem itself, right? Did you break something on someone's property? Did something happen they're claiming you did? You have to evaluate what is actually the issue. And what you find there is, ultimately, if you are morally approaching it correctly, right? Like, that in good faith you did everything to put that client first in this situation. You're like, hey, I'm giving it all. I'm trying to fix the problem. I didn't hide from any of the issues, because this can be a multitude of different things. In this situation today, let's just say you broke a gate at someone's house, and someone calls you, and you immediately say, hey, I'm going to fix that. That's no issue. We're going to take care of it. And then the problem is solved. No one is mad. Everybody is happy. Unfortunately, you probably, if you realized it up front, you should have let them know up front. That's putting that client first. And I can tell you right now, you're going to save a million fires by letting them know, and letting them know it's broken, instead of them finding out and letting you know. Right? So unless you just didn't notice it, always let people know when you screw stuff up. But so the situation that I'm really going to go to out of this fence situation, where the homeowner was happy and not really that mad and just idled down, is the situation where someone just over and over and over is always finding things, finding problems, has issues with everything. Now, what I'm saying is everything starts becoming a habitual issue. A lot of times you'll start seeing that a homeowner, and in our industry, lawn and landscape, I'm going to just kind of talk in that lane because it's what I know. Somebody can take an inch, and then all of a sudden they're going to take a mile, right? We've had homeowners realize that we stand behind everything. We have a 100% satisfaction guarantee. And so we've had several people realize that, wow, they'll fix anything. And so then I don't know that it's the case, but it almost feels like all of a sudden everything becomes a problem on that homeowner's property. Anything that was a problem is now ours, whether we did it or not. And you start becoming accused of everything. So something in this evaluating issue, first evaluate, is this a habitual thing with this person? Second, look at the situation that's going on. Is this person just trying to get more and more and more? And then thirdly, to help you evaluate and understand what to do, please, if you have a service business or any business, but services business is what I can most relate to, pictures, document everything, take before and after every single time, right? Because it's going to be the ground you can stand on. We have a situation right now specifically getting handled that is coming to resolution, and we were out looking at a broken concrete curb that was one of the multiple pieces of things that we have always been accused of or said we did. And we make mistakes. We have done some stuff wrong that we're going to fix for sure. But this curbing got blamed on us. We have a picture from the very first day that we started servicing this property nearly a year ago where it wasn't broken, and this is the type of thing that we let it grow because we kept just doing stuff because we want to keep people happy. And you got to really watch that front end piece of, yes, you do as much as you can to keep a client happy, but there's a breaking point of where this is just like totally crazy, right? So we evaluate the issue. We evaluate the person, how they're reacting. We evaluate what's actually going on and evaluate like what they're trying to get, what the situation, how we resolve this. And if we see, if any of that, the person, the situations, if it becomes this habitual thing where we know even through like some of our documentation that maybe they just had a bad day here. We talked about this earlier. Maybe they just had a bad day here. We're going to let it slide and we're just going to go ahead and take care of it. But then this just becomes a thing and a thing and a thing and a thing. And with documentation, we can clearly see. We can listen to the recordings of the calls. We can look at the documentation. We can see that that's something we couldn't even have done in the first place. And you can see that there is a chain of habitual issues that are all flowing back to us that ultimately you're never going to be able to win here. And that's what you find from time to time. And I hate it because we all think we can satisfy and keep anybody happy. But the reality of it is you cannot keep everyone happy. It's physically impossible. You shouldn't even try. Because some people, they would just be happier in a different situation. It's kind of like employees, right? Like you keep an employee on that's not doing that well, and they're struggling with their peers, when if you would just let them go, they could go find a place where they would work out well, they'd fit the culture and all those things, and you're actually holding them back because you're just trying to you're trying to be nice, and your niceness is making their life worse in the long run. And so the same situation for this. This client trying to be nice, trying to fix everything, trying to satisfy, trying to keep happy in that deal because you take stuff personal. Like me, every bad review for our company, I take it personal because I care about what we do. I want us to do the best possible. I want us to continue to expand and grow so our team can continue to win more and more, right? And I don't feel like you're a good business owner if you don't take it personal. Because it is your baby. It is a thing. Maybe it gets to some level where you know that there's going to be some amount of reviews, but I feel like even if I didn't see all of them, any bad review I read, it still stings a little. Even when you know it's total BS, because there's reviews that are just, it's great that they're there because even other people can see that's a BS review, right? Like this doesn't mean anything. It's price-based. It's whatever. They just weren't happy with something they accepted. And then there's the reviews of these people did horrible work and horrible shoddy things, and morally corrupt. Those are the ones that everybody's concerned about. So let's hone this back on track, though, and get to the final piece. We've done that first part of putting our customers first. We have honed in and made sure we've evaluated this whole area of the transaction and the relationship with all of our clients. And then finally, we're going to get to the tail end of how do we handle this and what do we do once we realize this thing is, I don't see how we can make this work. Well, first and foremost, I believe that you should put a little bit of a SOP, or you should make a decision personally in your company. What am I going to deal with, right? Like how many times of habitual weird stuff are we just going to put a policy in place to where, okay, that, and that, maybe it's a 3-strike rule, is going to lead to a hard conversation. So first I say put something in place so it's easier to follow and you don't have to constantly be like, what do I do? Should I do it? This person's really nice. No, blame it on the protocol. Have this system in place that you know you're going to want to follow time on time again, and that you're just going to follow, then follow that system. And then finally, when it says that, hey, we've got to make a decision here, that's when the final piece comes. It's the hard conversation. And I know why so many people are scared to have the hard conversation or scared to make that decision of, hey, we got to terminate this client. Because we're in a world that, just think about it like getting in a wreck. It's a litigious world. Everybody is a keyboard warrior that now can go smear everything about a company, about its reputation, about its people, what they do. They can just sit here behind this keyboard and hammer out whatever they want to do. And so that becomes scary as a business owner, because I'd already said over here, you're really personally hurt by every bad review. But I can only put in so few words that even a bad review in a situation where it's someone you shouldn't be working with, even a bad review can be worth it. Because what I've noticed, when you go time after time after time after time trying to keep someone happy, you start to kind of build a monster of someone with more and more and more expectations. You keep building it, building it, building it. And before you know it, you get to a near nuclear level. And then when you do need to separate, have that hard conversation and speak with them and talk about how, unfortunately, we're not going to service your property anymore. Maybe we're going to take care of X, Y, and Z in a good faith kind of gesture. But unfortunately, you're going to have to find a new provider, and then maybe list them and give them a few referrals. No one is ever happy about being broke up with. No one's ever happy about that, not being in control of that situation. And so whether it was just the service that they finally are, you're trying to keep them happy, but it's impossible, and you get a bad review that way, you're going to either get it that way or you're going to get it from terminating the client. But ultimately, every door you shut is going to leave you more room and more bandwidth to deal with more awesome people. And you all know you have that one person that you deal with in the list of your clients. That one person requires as much of your bandwidth as 20 other clients. And they're usually the person that says, I know I'm a little picky, but I'm not asking much, right? That person is making you be a disservice to a large magnitude of the people that you should not be being a disservice to, or not being able to serve as well. And so that's why you should save the money and save the potential revenue that you could earn and get rid of that person, terminate that person, and do everything you can do to do it on good terms. We've had good terminations, we've had bad terminations, we've got bad reviews from them, but ultimately, just like anything, you need to split at a certain time, and you need to put the actual ship, the company, first. And sometimes we put the company last with that whole the customer's always right mindset, and it just keeps becoming more and more negative. I can't preach to you how much I have pushed us in, and I'm not proud of this. I've pushed us into situations where we've dealt with and we've dealt with and we dealt with and we dealt with, until it wasn't just me that was frustrated. It was the office that was frustrated. It was the team members that were frustrated, because things got so crazy and the expectations got so high that at first it kind of could start like a game, because you're like, man, I'm keeping the super, super picky person happy. Everybody's going to love us because we can do it. And eventually you still end up losing. And it's the type of person that is constantly chewing through new providers and going to a new situation where hopefully they have better success. So those are your pieces, right? Then you have that hard conversation and you do everything you can do to make it right? Like, we're not going to service you anymore. You said you had this little thing that was damaged. Just fix it and wash your hands of it and move on. And that is what's been best with us. And we've also had clients where we knew that, unfortunately, we weren't going to be able to satisfy them anymore. We can't make it any better. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and grinding on. And we've done the opposite of that, not have the hard situation. We've kind of let it ride out or try to let it fade away. Ultimately, I'm standing here in a learning aspect too of, I know this after many, many times, just like telling someone you damaged something in your property. It is better to nip it in the butt than to let it expand and let it become something that is out of your control. So do this. Know that everybody else deals with this. Don't feel like you're a bad, if you are making morally good decisions, you care, if you are personally hurt by every bad review, don't feel like you're just a total fuck up, because this happens. Everyone has this issue, and you cannot keep everyone happy.